Welcome, welcome, welcome. Well, folks, you know what? You'll notice right off the bat, we are not in our normal recording area. I got to say this, folks. I don't get this one. I don't get it at all. I wasn't planning on doing a live stream. They're cutting a tree down in front of my house. I should be watching it. It could fall on my house, but I'm worried about the New York Mets right now. I am severely, severely concerned. I am concerned. I am 100% concerned. Edwin Díaz signed by none other than the freaking LA Dodgers, the two-time champs in a row, found it in their financial means, and they targeted Edwin Díaz to uplift that bullpen because they prioritized him. 3 years, $69 freaking million. Up until yesterday, I was like, okay, 4 years, 5 years, that might be a little too much, but this was a 3-year deal. A 3-year deal is all it took to get it done. 2 hours ago when this came out, it was like, okay, all right, the Mets, did they offer 3 years, $75 million? Did Edwin Díaz choose to leave money on the table so he could win a World Series with the Dodgers? Now it's coming out that, no, David Stearns, in his wisdom, thought, all right, let me offer this guy 3 years, $66 million. And I put out a video the other day, warning, this would be a grave mistake. You had a weapon. This was the only part of your team that was better than what the Dodgers had. You had a unique situation where you had one of the best closers in baseball, the best. You had that market cornered off. You had the best closer, and you let that slip through your fingers for pennies. Pennies. I don't want to hear any excuses because I know there's a contingent of people saying, okay, you know what? He wanted to go to LA. He wanted to win a championship. At the end of the day, this guy wanted to be paid the most money. What did LA give Edwin Díaz at the end of the day? 3 years, $69 million. They gave him the most money. They gave him the most money. At the end of the day, if I would have heard 3 years, $75 million, at least I would have felt a little better. A little better. I would have felt good because we just lost one of our only advantages. Our only advantages. And now this makes the Devin Williams signing look worse. This makes the Brandon Nimmo trade look worse. Every single thing this makes look worse. Even if you get Suarez, Fairbanks, whatever you do, looks worse. Looks worse. You needed to build around Edwin Díaz. To build around Edwin Díaz. Not anything less is puzzling. Puzzling. Dodgers, who just won 2 World Series, they thought it was the right move to sign Edwin Díaz. And the Mets, again, you have to fight from a position of strength. And the New York Mets aren't fighting from a position of strength. Therefore, it would have took a little more money. But I had confidence in the beginning of this offseason because I'm like, okay, money's not going to be an issue. The Mets are going to go over the $300 million Steve Cohen luxury tax. It's not going to be a problem. But apparently, again, we're pinching pennies. Pinching pennies. And Buck Showalter on Foul Territory warned the New York Mets. He said, you know, when Edwin Díaz got hurt in 2023 and we knew we lost Edwin Díaz, this season was over. Was over. And, you know, Devin Williams, I was happy about because I'm like, you can't be stupid enough not to sign Edwin Díaz. Whatever it's going to take, you value Edwin Díaz. You saw how valuable the closer was with the Yankees in the late 90s, Mariano Rivera. You saw how the value, how the MLB values the closer position. The Padres just traded away their number 2 prospect in all of baseball to acquire a top-tier closer? This is how valuable a commodity Edwin Díaz is. And we had him on our team. And you can't tell me 3 years, $75 million wouldn't have done it. You can't. And at that point, you would have coupled him with Devin Williams, and you could have been off and running, and I would have felt good. Everybody would have felt good. I'm telling you, not signing Edwin Díaz makes every other move less. Brandon Nimmo trade looks worse. Marcus Simeon trade looks worse. Any move you make right now looks worse because right now, what is better than Edwin Díaz? Nothing. Everything drops off the table. Suarez is a nice pitcher. He's a nice pitcher. McGill, the closer from Milwaukee, nice pitcher. None of them were Edwin Díaz. None of them were Edwin Díaz. And at the end of the day, we don't know if they're going to be successful in New York. Devin Williams, you saw, great pitcher in Milwaukee, yet to be successful in New York. We feel good that uniting him with David Stearns is that's a good thing. But still, yet to be successful in New York. Anybody you bring in right now, the New York factor is a huge factor. So, folks, I'd like to feel good right now, but this move has me puzzled beyond belief. Puzzled beyond belief. I see the comments right now, and I apologize for not seeing everyone. Music Man, Sharon, Baba Boy, Nigel, Ari. I really apologize right now. I really, really apologize because the way we're operating right now, are we operating like we want to win a championship? Is this how a championship team operates? Letting our biggest strength since the closeout of last year, when we only won 83 games, we lost our left fielder. And I know our left fielder, Brandon Nimmo, had defensive liabilities. Yes, I could see why you wanted to do that. You want to break up the core? Okay. We lost our closer, Edwin Díaz. Right now, we are in such a disadvantaged position from where I wanted to be. And at the end of the day, our payroll is $280 million. $280 million. And we don't have a closer. Or you could say Devin Williams is a closer, but no, honestly, you saw him close with the Yankees. He's an unproven closer in New York. So I have him as a setup man right now. So you don't have a closer. Mets are still pursuing a closing option. You don't have a left fielder. Second baseman right now, you have a guy who, yes, Gold Glove, but he's 35. Again, everything right now is going to be questioned because the decision-making right now is very suspect. We have suspect decision-making going on at the helm right now. David Stearns, who I wanted to have confidence in. I was upset at the end of last year, but I'm like, we're going to start new. We're going to be aggressive. We're going to spend money for things of value, for commodities. Edwin Díaz, at the end of the day, no matter what anybody thought of him, he was one of the best closing commodities in all of baseball. I apologize. One of the best closing commodities in all of baseball, and we knew how effective he was in New York. And again, the news that came out that we offered him 3 years, $66 million, honestly, I don't know if we offered that after the Dodgers deal, before the Dodgers deal, but I got to assume that David Stearns and Steve Cohen, they were doing their job. They had knowledge of the Dodgers number. They have knowledge of the Dodgers number. So to offer anywhere near where the Dodgers offered is almost like an insult to Edwin Díaz. Almost like an insult. Almost like you don't want me back, or you want me back for a hometown discount. I'd rather go across town. I mean, the Mets could have passed where they needed to be. The Mets needed to be probably 3 years, $75 million. They did not do what needed to be done. Bottom line, the Dodgers did what they needed to do. And maybe it would have cost them less money. Maybe the Mets would have had to overpay a little more. But you know what? That's because the Dodgers have been building things correctly. Mets right now, they're behind the 8 ball in such a big way. Last year, the Dodgers got Tanner Scott. This year, they got Edwin Díaz. I mean, the Dodgers target what they want, and they pursue it. The Mets target what they want, and they say, okay, I'll value it at, 3 years, $66 million, and I won't go a penny past. 4 years, probably would have got it done. 3 years, $75 million, probably would have got it done. I mean, we're not even talking 5 years. We're not even talking 5 years. I mean, that's insane. I thought the thing was, okay, maybe the Dodgers are going to sign him 4 years, $80 million, or 4 years, $90 million. We're not even close to 5 years. We're not even close to the $100 million mark that Edwin Díaz initially wanted. So what's the problem here? What is the problem? I love to hear David Stearns' explanation why we couldn't figure out, get Edwin Díaz in a room, Again, last week, Buck Showalter on Foul Territory, he said it was asked. He asked everybody, what's more important, Pete Alonso or retaining Edwin Díaz? Everybody across the board said Edwin Díaz. In fact, the only person who said Pete Alonso was John Heyman. And again, the connection with Scott Boras, Pete Alonso, John Heyman always rings true there. But every single person who's had that, been in the position, Buck Showalter was in a position in 2022 with Edwin Díaz. Phenomenal success, 101 wins. Then in 2023, we saw what life was without Edwin Díaz. And it wasn't a pretty picture. It was not a pretty picture. So just 2 years later, in free agency, we have an opportunity to couple Edwin Díaz with Devin Williams, and we don't get it done. And again, this is going to go down as possibly one of the dark days in Mets history. And I'm not trying to be bleak, but I'm just trying to say how much Edwin Díaz meant to this team, to this organization, to this franchise. And again, I'm trying to look at the positives, but right now I'm just not seeing it. I thought I was going to see an aggressive new version of Stearns. Not seeing it right now. I'm seeing the old Brewers penny pinching Stearns that I saw for 2 years, signing, and what's worse right now, signing Frankie Montas or not upping the offer and doing whatever it takes to get Edwin Díaz. Not good, folks. Not good. Let's get to some of your comments right now. Let's see if maybe some of you have found the positive. Let's get to Hector. Dom, Mets are a sinking ship. David Stearns is a joke. I mean, right now, it's really hard for me to say, well, this is where we're looking. This is what David Stearns is intending to do. I mean, you signed Devin Williams, right? Here's my choice, right? Here's my choice. If I'm going to pick between Devin Williams and Edwin Díaz, it's Edwin Díaz all day. Now you're telling me I'm stuck with Devin Williams with no Edwin Díaz? I mean, honestly, if you got to prioritize one guy, you got to prioritize Edwin Díaz. So again, it makes the Devin Williams signing look worse. If you would have got Edwin Díaz, it would have made the Devin Williams signing look much better. So more comments. Fire Stearns. I mean, again, you don't want to get overreactionary, but you want to see logic in some of the decision making. 3 years, $66 million, as opposed to 3 years, $69 million that the Dodgers offered. Where's the logic there, folks? Where's the logic? We didn't even offer equal money. We didn't even offer equal money. At least offer 3 years, $70 million. At least offer equal money. I was thinking, okay, maybe the Mets offered more money and he's jumping ship to win a championship. At least there would have been some logic. But no, the Mets didn't even offer equal money. All right, now this is another thing, Mark, and I like that you brought this up. The thing is, we didn't win with these guys. Now here's the deal. Was Edwin Díaz one of the reasons that we didn't win games, or one of the reasons why we won games? Did he contribute more to our 83 win total, or did he take away games? Because I look at it, if we didn't have Díaz, we wouldn't have won 80 games. That's my logic. If you're going to eliminate guys because you feel that we need a change, Edwin Díaz is not one of the guys you want to eliminate. Edwin Díaz is a guy who instills fear into the opposing team's lineup. In the 7th, 8th inning, the other team has pressure because they know Edwin Díaz is looming. Now, who are you going to have out there looming? Devin Williams, a guy who pitched to a 5 ERA last year? That's not going to instill fear right into the opposing team's lineup like an Edwin Díaz would. So again, I understand the fact that we didn't win with Edwin Díaz, but Edwin Díaz was far from the problem. Far from the problem. What's up, Scott? Good afternoon, Mets family. I don't know what the hell is going on, but my confidence in Stearns is about 20%. We are not aggressive, and Stearns needs to stop the robotic thinking. It's New York. Well, I agree with that 100%. But let's look simple thinking. This move was good enough for LA, a team who's won multiple championships, but wasn't good enough for the Mets to push it past the point where it needed to be. It wasn't good enough for David Stearns to go 3 years, $75 million. It wasn't. But it was prioritized by the LA Dodgers. So it really goes to show you a championship mindset from a team that is just trying to work within some confines. Now, I'll tell you this right now. This just seemed like a business decision, right? This seemed like a business decision. And with a guy like Edwin Díaz, when you have a guy that is the most talented at his position and is such an advantage for the New York Mets, you can't make that business decision and hold back just a couple $1 million. You were so close. You were so close to the point where you needed to be. And at this point right now, it's insulting. Edwin Díaz is like, you're not going to pay me $3 million more dollars? You're not going to, I've done this for the Mets franchise. And you're telling me you're not going to give me $3 million more dollars or $5 million more dollars. I mean, that's insulting to a guy like Edwin Díaz. So not only do you not give him equal contract, but you give him more motivation to jump ship. Now, Edwin Díaz, am I happy that he left? The guy is dead to me. Obviously dead to me. I appreciate what he did here, but you're not on the Mets anymore. So I don't care about you. I really don't. I really don't care about you anymore. But at the end of the day, Edwin Díaz said, I'm going to do whatever is best for my family. What does that mean? I'm going to sign with the team that gives me the most money. The team that gives me the most money. And for Mets fans, we can't even envision ourselves. We're not even in a world where we offered more money and he jumped ship. That's not the case. We underpaid. And I know $23 million is a lot of money, but it was only 3 years. It was a short-term deal. Wasn't 5 years. So if there was a situation where I would have went the extra mile, it would have been on a short-term contract. So I'm just so beside myself. I thought that if the Mets lost him, if there was any way, probably it would have been a ridiculous team like the Blue Jays offering him 6 years, $130 million. That's what I thought. Never would have thought a 3-year contract would have been the deal that catapults Edwin Díaz across the country. Now, the Dodgers right now, it seems like if you want to win a championship, you're going to LA. That's the bottom line. I mean, and I've never really kind of respected players who make those decisions, especially to a team that already won 2 straight championships. Like you're really contributing nothing new. You're really contributing nothing to the cause. The team's won multiple championships without you, but that's besides the point. I like the fact that the LA Dodgers are aggressive and know what it takes to win in Major League Baseball. You have to constantly be getting better and better and better. And the New York Mets, since the end of the season, have only gotten worse. So within the next couple of days, are we going to see a whole bunch of moves that really move the needle and make me feel differently, make you feel differently? I mean, no matter what the Mets do right now, there's no better option at closer right now than Edwin Díaz. So they can get 2 top-tier starters. They can get a Bellinger. They can get Alonso. At the end of the day, you need a top bullpen. You need a top bullpen. You're not going to win without a top bullpen. You're not going to win without a good elite, you're not going to win without a really good closer. You're going to need a big time closer in playoff time. You really are. And Devin Williams, he's a guy with all the potential in the world, but go look at his playoff ERA, mostly due to Pete Alonso. I know he doesn't have a lot of games experience, but the guy's got little experience, and the little experience that he does have in the playoffs isn't good. So right now, that is the man who is slotted as your closer, Devin Williams. So if you're the New York Mets right now, you have a hell of a lot of work to do. And you're in a sad situation because your payroll with so many holes is almost $300 million. And you have so many damn holes. I know the Dodgers, their payroll's like 350, almost 400, but at least they have so many answers. They got a full rotation. They got a complete bullpen. They have a juggernaut lineup. And they're rumored to be in the Kyle Tucker sweepstakes. I mean, this is just insane. Insane. And again, our only advantage, which was the closer, Edwin Díaz, we just let walk away. I mean, again, if we would have offered him an equal contract, that would have been one thing. If we would have offered him the contract probably that, needed to get it done, a couple more $1 million. I mean, it just bothers me that we lost this guy over a couple $1 million to a guy who is the richest owner in baseball. So I'm not feeling happy. Last night I went to bed thinking, okay, you know what? Not a lot of activity at the winter meetings, but I still feel good. I still feel like Pete Alonso's coming back. I felt like Edwin Díaz is coming back. Now, obviously, Kyle Schwarber's off the board. He got $150 million. I mean, so Pete right now, the Mets right now, probably going to have to, I didn't see anybody sign. I know, just my luck, Pete Alonso signs. But yeah, Pete Alonso right now is the top guy right now in the market. And my feeling is if the Mets want him, they're going to have to push past a point that they're uncomfortable. And if I would have chose between Pete Alonso and Edwin Díaz, if I had to choose one, just one guy, I would have had to choose Edwin Díaz. And based on like what Buck Showalter said, if you are facing the Mets, you can neutralize Pete Alonso. You can neutralize him. You could choose not to pitch him. You can choose to have, whatever. You can put your best pitches against him. You can neutralize him. You cannot neutralize what Edwin Díaz does to an opposing team. You just can't. So the Mets lost that advantage right now. Right now, they are going down a road that is less than, again, Robert Suarez, nice pitcher. McGill's brother, Trevor McGill, is that his name? He's a nice guy, throws 100 miles per hour, very solid starting pitcher, but at the end of the day, we don't know how effective he's going to be in New York. Mets fourth place. I mean, we're going to have a lot of those feelings today. Sharon, hello. I don't even I don't even want to say how's everybody doing because I know everybody's not feeling good. I've never really liked Williams, and that's the thing. If you're not signing Díaz, it makes the Williams move look not as good. It just does. It really does. Stearns is conning naive Mets fans. There's no aggression. A humiliation of 25 should have been more all-out aggression. I'm not paying $40 for parking and ripped off tickets. I mean, there's going to be a lot of anger today, and rightfully so. I mean, we had a top-tier elite closer, a guy who is a proven commodity in New York City, and we just let it slip through our fingers, and it hurts 10 times more because he goes to the Dodgers. The Dodgers, again, they saw it necessary to add a guy like Edwin Díaz, and the Mets really stopped short of doing so. So, again, you got to ask yourself, why do the Dodgers do what it takes, but the Mets don't? And the Dodgers are already up here. They're already up here, and they still feel the need to add. And, David Stearns and the New York Mets still, all right, we'll figure it out some other way. How are you going to figure it out? You got to replace Nemo. You got to replace the more time we go on, the more holes. You got to replace Edwin Díaz right now. You got to replace a couple starters in the starting rotation because of mistakes last year. It's not we're not getting answers right now. I would have liked by this point in the offseason, December 9th, to have more answers. By this time, we have more questions, which is the opposite of what an offseason at this point should be doing. And I don't want to hear about the money, folks. I really don't, because I know we're at $300 million. But, folks, don't you think that if David Stearns was doing his job the right way, at least we would have cleared the deck a little? We had $300 million. We had $300 freaking million. And we have so many holes. And this is his Stearns' third year. Third year. So I don't want to hear where we offered him $22 million a year and it was a lot of money. No, we're at a position where we have to penny pinch because of David Stearns. But that's still not even an excuse because you have Steve Cohen as your owner, and it shouldn't matter. Even if we're at $300 million, it shouldn't matter. Again, yeah, whatever the reason is, it's killing me. It's killing me too. When are the winter meetings over? Stearns refused to comment on anything last night. Just political BS, stupidity. Starting and now relief pitching is BS. Now Alonso has, yeah, I mean, right now, I mean, he's got to have the market cornered. I mean, Schwarber's off the market, and you heard the thing with Schwarber. You knew Schwarber was going to be signed very soon. I mean, the Pirates supposedly were offering him 4 years, over $100 million. As soon as you heard that, you knew that Schwarber was probably going to get a contract in the mid hundreds. You had to. If the Pirates were offering 4 years, $100 million, other teams were going to up their offer. And now Alonso, right now, I mean, you're going to have to probably offer that 4-year, I mean, possibly 5-year contract. And are the Mets willing to do it? Are they going to be willing to do it? And if so, if the Mets sign Alonso, did they make a choice? Did they say, okay, you know what? We're going to go all out on Alonso and not Diaz? And then I would question that. And if they don't go all out on Alonso, then I question that as well. It's just so many damn questions with David Stearns and the New York Mets. I mean, again, as this offseason progresses, the team's gotten worse. The team's gotten worse. And John, I'm glad you brought this up because this is another, everybody's going to have their own perspectives and, everybody, we respect everybody's opinions and it's good to address different perspectives. So John, you bring up a good perspective and you don't sound like a Mets fan, but that's fine. So all Mets fans, Diaz didn't want to be a Met. It figured go into the Dodgers and get to the World Series. Now, here's the deal. Diaz already signed that 5-year, $100 million. So he wanted to be a Met back then when the Mets were paying him the most money, right? So you can't argue that. Yes, was it appealing to go to a team like the Dodgers? Like, would he have gone to the Pirates if the Pirates offered him $3 million more? Probably not. So the Dodgers' appeal was certainly there. But I'm telling you, if the Mets would have offered more money, he probably would have been a Met. He probably would have been a Met. He said early on he's going to be making a business decision for his family. AKA, I'm going to the spot that gives me the most money. And at the end of the day, the Dodgers gave him the most money. So yes, there's other things that go with being a Dodger, but I'm pretty sure that he would have went to the New York Mets if the Mets offered him the most money, which they didn't. And by the Mets not even trying, there's not even a way of knowing. There's not even a way of knowing because the Mets didn't even try. Didn't even try. Does Pete go to LA? I mean, I don't think Pete's going to LA. I mean, LA already has Freeman. I mean, they already have a slew of hitters. I mean, probably right now you have Boston, you have the Orioles sniffing around. I mean, Boston seems to be in the lead position for Pete if he doesn't come back to the Mets. And Boston was looking for that slugger. They were looking for Schwarber. They were looking for that slugger they can add in the lineup. And right now, Pete's a prime slugger. He's a prime option. The Orioles, they're looking to upgrade. And so we'll see. I mean, I would be, if Pete left for the Boston Red Sox, okay. I mean, that's, I don't know. It would hurt a lot, but I mean, if the Orioles somehow beat the New York Mets, I mean, right now, the Red, nobody should beat the New York Mets. Nobody financially should beat the New York Mets. So let's just say that bottom line, there should be not another team outside of, maybe LA or, well, LA is owned by a bunch of people. Toronto's owned by a bunch of people. Singularly, Steve Cohen is the richest man in baseball. So if he wanted to, he could always offer the most money. So really, these guys that you value. And again, what does this say for us going forward for 2026? Is it going to be another year we're going to say we're going to go for it, but we're really piecing it together? Because last year, you can't tell me we were going for a 2025 World Series. Going into the season with that pitching staff, with that many questions, you cannot tell me that we were going pedal to the metal in 2025. You can't tell me. And now I'm beginning to question if we're going to go pedal to the metal in 2026, letting Edwin Díaz slip through our fingers. What's up, Scott? This team is a bad joke. David Stearns should be fired today. All they talk about is wanting to win a World Series, but I got to tell you, this is a closer. This is closer to a last place team than a playoff team. You know what, Scott? Right now, as currently constituted, you're 100% right, because we won 83 games. We won 83 games last year. Now you minus Diaz. Now you minus Nimmo. You add Simeon, you add Williams, a guy Williams who had a 5 ERA, and you add Simeon, a guy who was declined a lot offensively. Yes, yeah, he's good with the glove. But again, you take out Diaz, you take out Nimmo. I think we're under 80 wins. We're under 80 wins as currently constituted. Yes, we have a lot of offseason to go, but as currently constituted, we have a lot of work to do. Bro, it's obvious Diaz didn't want to play here. It's not sad. Williams is still a elite closer. This is an L take. Mets said there was more money available. He just didn't take it. Well, if there was more money available, it's being reported that the Mets offered less money. So if that report comes out and it's official that the Mets offered more money, then, that's, my opinion will change based on the information that comes out. And you can't tell me Diaz didn't want to play here when he signed a 5-year contract to play here. When he signed, it's not like he never signed to be here. He chose to be here. And again, he went to the place that gave him the most money. So you can't tell me that he didn't want to play here when he went to the place that gave him the most money. And if there was more money that the Mets offered that's not reported, then we make our opinions accordingly. Scott, you're right. There's not enough talent left available to get this team to being a playoff team. Now, Scott, there are moves to be made, but obviously David Stearns has to be creative. Obviously, he has to be aggressive. Obviously, he has to do things that he's uncomfortable doing. Again, he's going to have to thread the needle. Have we seen him do that in 3 years? No, we haven't. We haven't seen him do it. So, yes, he can do it, but the likelihood, again, like you're saying, it's going to be very, 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 very tough, because his past performance, is that indicative of future performance? Because if it is, then it's going to be highly questionable moves. And the thing that upsets me is he's been here for over 2 years. And just yesterday, he was asked, which parts of the team are you comfortable with right now? And he basically said there is no part of the team that he's comfortable with. Any part of the team he's willing to change. Like, how are you in a job for 2 years and you didn't solidify one position? And I know, like this, yes, you could say shortstop, you could say Juan Soto, but again, I, that's Steve Cohen's money, going ridiculously crazy for Soto, and Lindor was already here when he got here. What's up, Black Cat? Diaz had a sour taste in his mouth over last season ending. He probably got tired of getting nothing accomplished. Plus, remember, he got suspended for sticky stuff and lost a whole season for. I mean, at the end of the day, right now, with the information that's out there, I can't. Again, Dodgers, yes, that's an appealing destination. But again, the Mets didn't even offer the most money. They didn't even offer the most money. Was he upset over last year? I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of players on the New York Mets had a sour taste in their mouth. How could you not? There was so much disappointment to go around. There's I know you have Mendoza in the last couple of days saying there was no clubhouse drama, there were no issues in the clubhouse. A lot of cleaning of the airs going on right now. But there was a lot of stuff with the New York Mets that wasn't very attractive and it wasn't very appealing. It just wasn't. It wasn't. There was a stench with the New York Mets that, you could see. No matter where you watch the New York Mets, you could see there was something wrong with the team. Could that have gone into the decision making of Edwin Díaz? Then you watch the Dodgers march through the playoffs, get another championship. And again, you have an opportunity to be paid more money and to go to that situation. I mean, it's almost a no-brainer at that point. It's almost a no-brainer. So that's why I'm like, at the end of the day, the Mets needed to pay up, and they didn't. Okay. All right. So I mean, this just came out a minute ago. Boston Red Sox, Sports Illustrated. So it's saying the rumors around Boston and Pete Alonso are really starting to gain traction. It was reported on Monday that the club would be meeting with Alonso on Tuesday. So they're meeting with him today. On Tuesday afternoon, Pete Abraham of the Boston Globe reported on Blue Sky that a meeting hasn't happened yet, but it is on the schedule. And so as of right now, guess this article came out this report came out a few minutes ago. Red Sox haven't met with Alonso yet today, but it's on the schedule. Expectation is that Schwarber going back to Philly will open up the hitter market. That's not all. Alonso has great interest in playing at Fenway Park. So I'm not sure where that's coming from, but the speculation out there is that Alonso actually has great interest at playing at Fenway Park. Now, when you kind of figure out where Alonso's going to go, you got to see how are the Red Sox thinking. Okay, well, Schwarber's off the market. Then retaining Bregman would be clearly the priority for the Red Sox. Sources inside and outside the organization agree on that. Question is if they flex their financial muscles and stay in the mix for Alonso, who has great interest in playing. Okay, so I mean, I guess they have to make a decision on Bregman or Alonso. And if Alonso has a lot of interest in coming to Fenway, then maybe they don't sign Bregman, which we don't really care about. We care about more along the lines if the Mets and Alonso are going to reunite. Now, Scott Boras is doing his job. He's selling Pete. He's really selling Pete hard to the Red Sox. Boras said, I guess he was, really bragging about Pete Alonso hitting at Fenway. He says that the numbers illustrate that Pete hits really well there. He sees the ball well in Fenway. big man in small quarters. It's nice to be the redwood tree in the forest, I guess. I mean, that's Boris with his always stupid analogies. Now, the rumor mill is turning, and it's finally starting to result in real deals. Now we see players signing, Schwarber signing, Edwin Díaz signing, some of the top guys going off the board. Alonso and Bregman, they are two right now, top free agents. Where are they going to go? So I mean, right now I, I had much more confidence yesterday. I'll put it that way. I had much more confidence. Right now, I don't know. I really don't know. Are the Mets going to continue to say, hey, we need to break this up? I mean, when they wanted to break this up and they sacrificed Nimmo, I'm like, okay, you know what? Okay, I see what they're doing. Nimmo's got defensive liabilities, and sometimes it's better to trade a guy a little too early rather than trade him a little too late, right? Okay, so I understood that logic. He still has life left in the bat, but you trade him before he just goes south. I understood that. But now letting Diaz walk and letting Alonso possibly walk, I mean, again, we're just getting worse and worse and worse in terms of solidifying positions. We are not solidifying positions. And then also, too, what is the goal? We're almost at the $300 million mark. Is our budget $340 million? Is our budget $320 million? You see the Dodgers going past $400 million. You would think that Steve Cohen wouldn't have a budget, but it seems like you gotta think by that $3 million slight that Stearns is operating on some type of budget that he's up against. That's what I take from this. I take that he is operating against a very tight budget. If $3 million is something that you cannot match, you are telling me that you are operating against something. Again, this isn't on Stearns. I guess we're saying the same thing. Mets made offer. Again, you made an inferior offer. You didn't even match the offer. So again, it's how could you expect him to go to the team that's offering less money? And I'm not sure what I'm missing. Mets offered him the same money LA did, and he still chose LA. Did they offer 3 years, $66 million is the same as 3 years, $69 million? I don't understand how that's the same. I don't. And then for you to even be the same as the Dodgers is also insulting. Of course, you're probably going to have to offer more than the Dodgers, who have a better situation. So again, you didn't even match it. But again, realistically, for you to get the deal done, you would have had to beat that offer. But even if we're talking just realistically, it's not the same offer. Uh, get your facts straight. You sound like you know nothing. I mean, I'm sure you know everything. Scott, all I know is I won't attend a game in 2026 as this team isn't worth 1 cent. I mean, you know what? We're talking right now out of a lot of emotion. There are a lot of moves to be made. This isn't a good one. This is certainly not a good one. You give the Dodgers all the credit in the world. They made a good move today. They solidified the back end of their rotation, and any other reliever they have in their bullpen, just put them in a stronger position. Put the whole pitching staff in a stronger position. Put the whole team in a stronger position. So the Dodgers, you give them a lot of credit, and the Mets right now, you really can't give them credit at all. I mean, a couple of you who probably not Mets fans, I'm pretty sure jumping for joy. I don't blame you. I'd be happy too. I mean, in the beginning of all this, the pitchers I was targeting, when we heard the Framber Valdez, I mean, that's the thing too. I remember last week we heard a bunch of I don't want to say nonsense, but a bunch of news about the Mets going after Framber Valdez. I'll tell you, if that's our big signing, I would be terribly, terribly disappointed if that's our big signing. If that's our big signing, if you're going to sign him to be a number 3, okay. And you're going to sign him to a 3-4 year contract. Okay. But if the Mets did something like giving him a long-term contract, and that was your big move, again, that'd be a big mistake, in my opinion. Me in the starting pitcher market, I have Michael King over him. I got the guy from Japan, Tatsuya Amai over him. I mean, obviously, Amai's got all the talent in the world. Obviously he's a bit unknown, but compared to everybody else, younger, more talented, different repertoire. But if I'm going to give a guy that big contract, it's definitely going to be a guy like that. I mean, I like this. Let's stay positive and try to look forward to 2028. I like what you said the first part, but the second part is kind of nuts. But if you realistically piece this in your head, it just seems like if this team is all in, they're not showing it. They're certainly not showing it. They're really not. I mean, you just traded away Brandon Nimmo, but you got Marcus Semien. So I was excited at that move at the time because I'm like, okay, you got your leadership. You have a guy who's a defensive stud. You made up the middle much stronger, shortstop, second baseman. And by you getting a 35-year-old and taking on more money, you showed us that you're going to be aggressive. You showed us that you're still in win now mode, because if you traded Brandon Nimmo for prospects, that would indicate another direction. But trading him for a 35-year-old guy, that shows me that, okay, we are still in win now mode this year. But the following moves are kind of questionable. You guys can still get Robert Suarez, the third best closer in baseball. The funny thing is, I was gonna pull up all this baseball savant Robert Suarez. I was gonna pull up Trevor McGill. I really don't want to do that right now. I know Robert Suarez is a very talented guy. He's 34 years old, so he's a couple years older than Diaz. He's a fireballer. He's a guy who throws 99 miles per hour. He's a very nice pitcher, but again, I don't know how successful he's going to be in New York. I don't. And again, he's older. So, you're going to pay him close to $20 million. That's going to be the thing that we're going to have to realize. These guys right now, like a Robert Suarez, is going to make close to $20 million. So for a couple more $1 million a year, you could have had the best guy who you knew was good in New York. Learn not to give a crap like me. Your brain will thank you for it. Go Mets 2030. Imagine while everyone is making moves, Stearns still sleeping like a baby with his stupid smile. I mean, honestly, Stearns is working the phones, right? He's working the phones, right? Doesn't mean he's making moves we want. Doesn't mean he's making moves we want. I mean, if I'm being honest, his comments that he made last night actually upset me even more right now. The fact that, we started off very aggressive. Like the Mets started off very aggressive, but at this point last year, we had Juan Soto in tow. At this point right now, we have Marcus Semien. We lost Diaz, possibly losing Alonso. It's not, again, we have a lot of work to do. So my confidence right now is very, very low. We have to thread the needle. There are still very big assets out there. If we come out come away with an Amai, Tatsuya Amai, if we come away with a Michael King, that would look very nice for the rotation. But again, we still need help in the bullpen. Devin Williams isn't a proven guy in New York. You could tell me that he's a proven closer in Milwaukee. You can tell me that. You could sell me that. You could tell me that he's a proven setup man in Milwaukee, but you cannot tell me that he's a proven closer in New York because of last year. And I know he got better as the year went on, but again, not having Diaz in that back end of the bullpen really hurts a guy like Williams. It really does. Williams right now will be more exposed than if Diaz was there. What's up, Cobra? As a Padres fan, King is awesome when he's not injured. I mean, yeah, I've watched Michael King pitch a lot, obviously with the Yankees, a couple of times with the Padres. Michael King is a very, very talented pitcher. I mean, you're right, if he's not hurt, that would be a guy that I would really like to have in tow. I would also like another top end starter. But if you can get a King and somebody else top end, I'd feel better about the rotation. But again, you're not going to have that top end bullpen. You're really not. You're building around Williams, right? You're building around Williams right now. You have Brooks Raley back there. You have Minter, who's coming off an injury right now. It's very questionable. The bullpen right now that could have been one of the strongest parts of the team and one of the strongest bullpens in baseball, or just automatically just went to questionable. Mets are going back to the old ways of being cheap. It's the funny thing is they started this offseason quite the opposite. They took in $6 million more dollars in the Simeon trade. $6 million they took on an excess salary for 2026. So money didn't look like an option. Then they signed Devin Williams to 3 years, $51 million. They took on that contract, and then they were supposedly still in on Diaz. They're still looking for another closer. So it looked like money wasn't going to be an issue. But again, you cheap out in usually you want to step up on certain people, right? You want to step up on a top end pitcher. When Yamamoto, the Mets stepped up with him, young pitcher. Top end closer would be one of those positions that you think that the Mets would step up. Again, if you're going to be rational, you're not going to finish first. The Mets tried to rationalize this 3 years, $22 million a year, give him a $3 million raise. And, at the end of the day, he did what a lot of other players in his position would probably do. What's up, Richard? This team is so dead. Right now, this team right now is so far from being a finished product, which is, I don't want to say sad, but again, every position, like Stearns said, is really up in the air. And again, what does that say about the job Stearns has been doing if literally none of the positions besides Soto and Lindor are locked down? I know we mentioned Beatty at third, but again, you still have over 60% of your roster, and more than that if you include the starting rotation and the bullpen, that have all question marks. Again, I'm hearing this a lot. To be fair, we didn't win with him, and again, I do agree with that. That we didn't win with him, but he wasn't the reason why we lost. He really wasn't. There were so many other reasons why we lost. In fact, he was part of the reason why we did have 83 wins, or we did get to where one game short of the playoffs. If we didn't have Diaz, maybe we won't even win 80 games, or maybe we don't even come up one game short of the playoff. He contributed, in my eyes, much more to the winning aspect than to the losing aspect. If it's true, the Mets only offered 3 years, 66 million. If I was a Mets fan, that would keep me up at night. Luckily, I'm a Dodgers fan and enjoy seeing other fan bases cry. I mean, honestly, I can't disagree with that. I mean, it is what it is. The Dodgers did a great job stepping up, and the Mets didn't. I mean, the Dodgers right now have stepped up every single time that they need to make a substantial move. When it was Otani, when it was Yamamoto, they got aggressive in every single time they need to be aggressive. Teoscar Hernandez, Tanner Scott, Edwin Diaz. Every single time they need to step up and be aggressive and go the extra mile. Freddie Freeman, they've done it time and time and time again. And they've been building this for years and years and years, even going back to the big trades they made, years ago, Mookie Betts. They step up every single time. And that's what you need to do. Danny, you're right. Stearns doesn't care. Pete can walk. He will sleep better. Well, the thing that really kind of bothers me, and this is in the back of my head, so this is just me. So that it might be me driving myself crazy. But if this has any truth to it, then I'll just be sick to my stomach. I really will be. It just feels like right now, if Stearns didn't sign you, or you're not on the team because of David Stearns, then he values you less. If you're not a Stearns guy, you are valued less. No matter how good Edwin Díaz was, at the end of the day, he wasn't a Stearns guy. He wasn't. Want to know who was a Stearns guy? Devin Williams. Who do we choose over Edwin Díaz? Devin Williams. Is there any world where you go to 30 teams and you say, hey, you got an option, Devin Williams or Edwin Díaz? I mean, I'm pretty sure 99% of the teams will choose to pursue Edwin Díaz. But I just have a crazy thought that if you're not a David Stearns guy, that he just values you less for some reason. Now, Carlos Mendoza is a guy that was the first manager handpicked by David Stearns. In my opinion, Carlos Mendoza has a lot to learn to be a championship manager. I was surprised. He gave him a vote of confidence when the Mets were doing their worst. He continued to give him a vote of confidence when the Mets continued to get even worse and sink further down. At the end of the year, when the Mets completed the epic collapse, he says, you're coming back next year. And at the end of the day, I just can't get it in my head that he is a David Stearns guy, so he is valued at a higher level. I mean, it shouldn't be. You should value guys based on how much talent and how much ability they bring to your club. But that's not what I'm seeing right now. Certain guys are valued more, and certain scrap heap guys that David Stearns can potentially get something out of, those guys are valued at different. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. I don't know how he's doing evaluating. Obviously, David Stearns is a very smart man, but I'm just kind of lost at these decisions ever since the first year. I'm lost. Good example, Patrick. Who did we choose over Severino? Frankie Montas. That was another head scratcher. In fact, they tried going through I heard this on WFBN, the worst signings in history, and already Frankie Montas, year 2 of the reign of David Stern, that went down as one of the worst signings, and will be one of the worst signings. What do we have? 6 horrific starts. Danny, you're right. Dodgers probably felt they needed to go over 100 million, and more years to get Diaz. The Mets knew the Dodgers went in on Diaz. So, okay, here's the deal. A lot of people always say, "Hey, did the Mets know that the Dodgers were in? Did the Mets know about the competition?" In this particular situation, when David Stearns has a close relationship with Diaz and the agent, and obviously, it's the Mets' job, it's Stearns' job to have information. You got to know that everybody knew the Dodgers were in it. Certainly the Mets knew the Dodgers were in it, right? Certainly the Mets knew. I mean, the offer was very, very similar to what the Dodgers offered, right? But 100%, I believe the Mets knew the Dodgers were in it. Did they know the exact offer? I mean, they had to know the ballpark. They offered almost the same amount. But the thing is, if you're David Stearns, my thing would have been, Edwin, go out, test your market, come back with any offer before you sign. Our intention is to match it or beat it. That's going to be our intention. So the information hasn't really come back or come out on how that part transpired. But if I'm David Stearns and you value Edwin Diaz, you want him to test the market. He's earned that right and you want to respect that right, but you also want to retain said player. So that would have been the thing. Go out, test your market, and we will match or beat or at least give it every effort to match or beat that offer. So it would be sad either way if Diaz didn't come back to the New York Mets. It would have kind of showed that maybe he was a bit frustrated. Maybe there was a bit friction if he just didn't come back with the final offer. But again, that's on Stearns, and it's come out that Stearns, he's probably very good with analytics, but in terms of his communication, it's been said. Ottavino said the guy is not very good at communicating. So a former player who dealt with David Stearns says he's not good with communicating. And that's scary. That is scary when your president of baseball operations is not good at communicating. And when people say, well, we hear him in the press conferences, he's very eloquent, he speaks pretty well at a high level, but communicating and having people react and understand you is very different. Now, when I listen to Brandon Nimmo speak and how engaging he was, how you really felt what he was talking about, and then you listen to David Stern, it's like watching bricks dry. He is so goddamn boring, not engaging, not not very interesting guy. Really not a very interesting guy. Did that hurt in this particular situation? Well, I think not being able to build relationships hurts in every situation. It really does. And that is really hold on, folks. Hold on. All right. Sorry about that. I'm getting a tree cut in front of my house, and my neighbor just called me because he wants to get his tree cut. So a big wheel and deal thing, and we like to get the a little low price, but he's being a little nosy. All right, folks. So again, at the end of the day, right now, the New York Mets are at a crossroads. We're really at a crossroads right now, and the Pete Alonso thing right now, kind of, would you ask me if it was more likely or less likely after what has transpired? I mean, I got to be screaming right now that it's really more likely. I mean, to lose Edwin Diaz, Pete Alonso, Brandon Nimmo, and I mean, that just seems insane right now. Really insane that all of your top players, all of your all-stars, all of the talent that you have, we're stripping all of the talent on the team. Like, usually what you do is you strip all of the negative aspects on the team, not the positive aspects. But okay, so let's kind of like break down what kind of transpired, because some of this is really insane. It really is. I mean, you're gonna see more and more stuff like this. Like, one of the most recent articles on Sports Illustrated: Mets David Stearns under fire after Edwin Diaz Dodgers contract revelation. So again, it would be one thing if the Dodgers overpaid in a big way. It really would. And again, the overpayment I thought would be 5 years, over $100 million. Again, 3 years, 69 million. That was another really big surprise. Okay. So right now we know that the New York Mets former closer signed that 3 year, $69 million deal with the LA Dodgers. Diaz's tenure with the Mets has now concluded. Now, the Mets added Devin Williams to their roster, and could still be in play for Robert Suarez. This is really a crucial blow for New York. We know that Diaz was a very successful and talented elite closer. Now, on November 23rd, if we go back in history, the Athletic Will Salmon conveyed that there was a sticking point in contract talks between Diaz and the Mets. And that was because Diaz wanted a 5-year deal, while the Mets wanted to give him a deal that was closer to 3 years. Hence what we saw: 3 years, $66 million. Now, at the end of the day, if you're a Mets fan, I don't know how you can give David Stearns a pass. I really don't know how you can give David Stearns a pass. The fact that David Stearns signed with the Dodgers for 3 years shows that contract length wasn't the issue. It also suggests that the Mets probably didn't match the $23 million that the Dodgers offered Diaz, which we know they didn't. People saying it's the same deal. 3 years, $69 million, and 3 years, $66 million sounds different to me. I know you could say it's in the same ballpark, but it's not the same deal. It's really not. Okay, so this has made the Mets president of baseball operations, David Stearns, a topic of discussion in the wake of Diaz's deal. It really has. And this is what you don't need. You really don't need. David Stearns right now should be focused on doing what he needs to do, and that may be the case. But again, right now, he's catapulted to being questionable. Everybody's going to be questioning what he's doing. And again, it is not very, very pleasant in Mets land. The Mets, they find and they wine, they dine Devin Williams, 3 years, $51 million. I was happy with that move, but I thought it would be in complementary to getting Edwin Diaz. Now the Devin Williams move, in my opinion, looks much, much worse. He's an inferior closer. He is also a closer that has struggled in New York. He is also a closer that has struggled in the playoffs, but that was fine because we were supposed to put him in the setup man role and he would have cover in Edwin Díaz. Now he doesn't have cover. Now he is going to be the main man. So David Stearns not giving him that $10 million extra, that $3 million extra, in my opinion, is just an awful job by Stearns and company, whoever else was in on the decision making. If Steve Cohen said max $66 million, knowing that the Dodgers were $3 million above him, then shame on Steve Cohen, shame on David Stearns, shame on every executive that said the most you should offer the best closer in baseball, 3 years, $66 million. If you want to trade for a closer, how much money, how much prospect capital would it cost? It will cost you a ridiculous amount of prospect capital. We didn't have to trade for one. All we had to do was pay a couple more million, and we could have had the best closer in baseball. Regardless, we are going to have a question mark at the back of that bullpen. A guy who hasn't been successful in New York, a guy who hasn't, playoff record. We'll see Suarez, his playoff record, isn't as bad as Devin Williams. But again, we don't know how effective he's going to be in New York. It's really not a good look. You have the richest owner in baseball, What does it matter if he's not going to pay up in these particular situations? Oh, man. Well, what's up? We are not in trade talks and possible signings. Let's see what happens by the end of the month before we go crazy. Now, I literally said that a couple of days ago. I said that after the Devin Williams signing. People didn't like that because it possibly indicated that the Mets wouldn't go pedal to the metal for Edwin Díaz, right? And I didn't believe it. Maybe I didn't want to believe it. Maybe the writing was on the wall last week. Maybe the Mets were in the know that no matter what we do, no matter what we offer, he's not coming back to the Mets. Maybe to save face, they didn't want to even offer him more money because it would have made the Mets look more desperate. It would have made them look worse that he turned the Mets down even with more money. So who the hell knows what transpired in the inner confines of the organization. But at the end of the day, we're never going to know because the Mets didn't even try. They didn't even try. They didn't even try to offer him more money. And that's what I'm seeing right now. If there's information out there that comes out that the Mets offered more money, that they told him, come back to us after you got the offer from the Dodgers, we'll match it, we'll beat it, and Diaz didn't do it, if he just got the offer and signed, if there's more to this story that we learn, again, like opinions change, opinions evolve. But right now, based on the information, it looks ugly. It looks devastating. And it doesn't look, it doesn't look promising. Now, is this something that, makes Mets fans feel better? Let's just throw Kyle Tucker out there. If the Mets were to go out and get a Kyle Tucker, is that going to be something that makes us feel better about Edwin Díaz not coming back? I mean, there's just not one thing that'll make me feel better about the Edwin Díaz. Like, he's not replaceable, in my opinion. Like, if the Mets didn't get Alonso, and they decided to go for Bellinger, they decided to go for Tucker, or they decided to go Bellinger and another bat. Okay, you know what? We can replace the offense. We can get better defensively. I could see the logic. But, not being able to replace an elite closer or being able to replace an elite closer is a whole different story. Ryan or Buxton. I mean, Ryan of the Minnesota Twins. I mean, you hear he's available, then you hear he's not available. Buxton. I mean, that's going to be a package that if the Twins. I mean, Buxton's not making a lot of money, but he's a guy who's been very injury prone. Yes, he's a guy with all the talent in the world. I love a nice dynamic player like that, but it's probably going to cost you. Like I think one of the prospect packages I saw, it was Jet Williams, Brandon Sproat, and then like a lower level prospect. I mean, that's the type of package that I would try to get a top tier starting pitching. Like I was trying to spend money on the offense, spend money on the back end of the rotation, and then possibly use my prospect capital to acquire, the hardest commodity to acquire. The starting pitching market right now, there's not many pitchers on the free agent market that are very talented. Dylan Cease is gone. Frambo Valdez, I'm not over the moon about. Michael King is kind of injury prone. You might have to use those chips to trade. But if you're going to do trading for Buxton, that lessens your prospect capital. And is a guy like, let me just. Now, is a guy like Joe Ryan a place you want to be? Do you want to go after a guy? He's got 2 years left on the contract. He's going to be 30 years old. I'm more along the lines of I see Ryan as a number 3. I really do. So again, I don't want to save my capital for number 3. I'd rather utilize my capital for somebody who is more of a guaranteed number 1, number 2. Like, I really like Freddie Peralta. I really do. I know a lot of teams really like Freddie Peralta, but I think he is more along the lines of that number 1, number 2 in the rotation. I think he is a tier higher than Joe Ryan. That would be a guy that, okay, I would be more likely to consider trading away some of my top resources for. All right, folks. I gotta actually check out right now. Again, I'm cutting down a tree in front of my house, so they need me outside. But we will continue this later on. So if you are new, subscribe to the channel. Everybody, thank you so much for the great comments, great feedback. Everybody with the opposing view, great job. A lot of great pushback. Drop a comment on this live stream. Let me know what you think. Again, don't forget to like the live stream. It really helps out the channel. Again, I appreciate every one of you. Thank you so much. If I didn't get to you, I'm reading a lot of the comments and very good stuff. Thank you all.